Okay, so today we are going to be looking at episode 6. Ms. Producer 6? All right, episode 6 of Are You Sure? Yeah, wow. Okay, this episode, let's just dive right into it. So they arrive in Sapporo, Japan. And first things first, man, they're going from, the island there in Korea, which looked to be like summer weather all the way, and then flying a long distance from Korea to Japan. I'm not too sure exactly the hours it takes as far as flights to get there, so I'm not gonna guess, but whatever it was, it must have been a long flight because it looked like a long flight. Other than that, snow. I know this very well. I grew up in Michigan, so I understand, like flying, for instance, going to see my parents or my son in Michigan. Usually Barcelona's pretty good weather, it has happened where I have flown into Michigan and it is completely miserable. It's slushy on the ground, it's cold, it's no matter what, it's raining. That's the worst, man, is when it's snowing and rain at the same time. It's just a miserable time. So that's what it really looked like at that point. So I don't know how their moods were, but it looked like they were pretty downtrodden just for the fact that it was a long flight. And of course, our number one stomach there, JK, again, I think he's got 3 stomachs. This dude was hungry. So they get to the hotel there and it didn't look like, well, first off, I got to be honest with you. So I've been to Japan and my accommodations were pretty awesome there. So it was weird to see how little that room was compared to what they've had in the past in New York and when they went to that island there, and then to here, to Sapporo, all of a sudden it's like the room just kind of, the accommodations got a little smaller. But of course, the snacks were in order. That was very important. So yeah, there was some dry sausage and of course beer. I mean, those guys both like to put it out there. So yeah, in any event, I know what that's like, traveling like that. You're not in the best mood, but cool thing about it was, I've said it before, that they have a really, really close relationship. So the cool thing about them is seeing how they react to each other. And in some ways, they actually finish each other's sentences. So I think both of them were pretty much in the same mood. Although I will say that I think that Jimin is a little more, I think he's in that way, it felt like he was just a little more happy. You know what I mean? He still had his smile on his face and everything, where JK gets very serious. You know what I mean? And also I noticed too that sometimes he just goes away. Like he just walks and just takes off. So I think that was pretty cool. Other than that, I think the energies matched. They got to the hotel, they snacked a little bit, and then that was it. Of course, then, the next day comes, the first thing they want to do is eat. So this is what, to me, this show is all about, is eating. And I got to tell you, since I've been watching the show, I have a newfound love for ramen noodles. I never did, because ramen noodles to me were like, worst case scenario, you don't have a lot of money for a lunch like at McDonald's or Wendy's or something like that, but you've got like $1.50, $2. You could always go to ramen noodles, buy a cup or two, put the water in, and boom, you're good, man. You know what I mean? So was it the kind of snack that in the United States that we lean on? I would say more college people probably lean on it, and then people who really love ramen noodles to that degree, yeah. But at least in Michigan, ramen noodles were kind of the worst case scenario. And for me, it was never the worst case scenario. I liked them, but the only thing I didn't like was how they made me feel afterwards. Yesterday, when we were watching this, my wife and I actually ordered from a proper Korean restaurant. We got some ramen noodles, some kimchi, some every little bit of everything, and it was good. It was really, really good. Didn't make me feel bad. So I just think that it's the processed ramen noodles that kind of don't really work well with my stomach. Anyways, the spicy ramen, at one point, this was cool because I know that this works like this in Japan. They have just a different way that they do things in restaurants. And I've noticed that here in Barcelona, there's a seafood restaurant, a Japanese seafood restaurant, and when I go by it, I can see that it has just the layout of all this fresh seafood, but it looks intimidating because it doesn't look like a traditional restaurant. You just don't walk in there and get seated. I'm not too sure how it goes if you tell them what to cook, and so I plan to go there pretty soon. But this restaurant, nothing like that, just a little different in the fact that when you went in, you kind of had to go to a vending machine and pick out the noodles that you wanted. Excuse me, ramen noodles. Too many ramen noodles. So you pick out what you want, and then my understanding is you pay there, and then that order goes to the chef, and then you sit down, and it's kind of the same, I guess, hibachi style, sushi style, all in one. You know, there's the person making the noodles right in front of you. But what was funny, I thought was funny, and it just shows the character of Jimin, was they know that the guy is on the other side making it, and he decided to so he looked funny, just seeing his head go up, peeking over to see what was going on. It was a cool process to see them. They have levels of spiciness, from 1 to, I guess, 10. And these guys, Jimin went to 5 and JK went to 7. And, woo, I can't do spicy food like that. When I was younger, I could, but these guys took it like a champ. But you could tell, first bite in, these guys were like, you know, they were burning. They were burning. I know I'd be burning too. So, in any event, you know, it looked like a really, really good time. Again, it's fabulously boring. I loved watching it. So moving on, after these guys got done smashing those noodles like no one's business, they walked a little bit, and I know that kind of cold. I know what it's like to walk in that cold, where it just seems like the air is literally just moving through you, and it literally, your poor body gets chilled from the inside out. So watching these guys walking and talking, and kind of, you can tell that they were really cold, but they're trying to make light of it, which I give kudos to them, because I would be like, we need to get the fuck out of here. We need to get in. Believe me, my wife and I have been in that kind of weather in London, not knowing where the hell our hotel is, and it is freezing, and it's raining to boot, and we got our luggage, and we're just like looking around. That was a horrible, horrible time. So that's what that reminded me of. But they took it like champs, man. And then eventually, of course, JK and his second stomach kind of kicked in with like, we need some coffee and cake. So on the way there, all of a sudden, Jimin just out of nowhere just hits with them. Starts trying to talk to cats, which I thought was really cool. We had to run that back twice because I told my wife, I said, look what he's doing. We have 2 cats of our own, and everybody swore by doing that, whatever it is, thing that you do for your cats and you're supposed to talk to them. My cats looked at me and was like, and that's pretty much how that went. So I just thought it was funny that he would do his thing to try to call some cats over. So basically, it's the same old thing. It's walk a little bit, talk a little bit, interact with each other, and then it's time to consume some type of beverages or food. So again, moving forward, these guys started eating some more food. And in that scene, I thought it was really important. You know, it's a good segue out of this. They started talking about something that I never knew, and I thought was cool, which was that when JK did a showcase, that RM had actually handwritten him a letter. That's how I took it, that he wrote him a letter. And that was surprising to Jimin, because Jimin's like, really? He wrote you a letter? He goes, yeah, it was just a very small letter, but basically telling him that I don't know if he said that he was sorry. I'd have to go back and read, but it seemed like, and I'm kind of summing it up, it sounded like he was saying he was sorry for the way that he treated him, something to do with, you were the youngest and I didn't know how to treat you. But then he saw that showcase, and that he began to have feelings, like I think probably regret. And then they opened up a little more about V, and about how Jimin and V allegedly, from what Jimin was saying, there was a moment when it hit a boiling point, and they were somewhere, because I guess Jimin would get so upset, and he's like me, we start to shake when we get upset. And he doesn't know why, but I can tell you, Jimin, why you get upset. When I get upset, I start to shake a lot. It's not fear of the other situation or fear of the situation that you're in. It's fear of you, of what you're about to do. This is a sign of holding back from just literally going nuts at that point and wrecking somebody. And the thing was that V apparently was making fun of him to his, V's back was to Jimin, but he could see him making fun of him and shaking. And that's when I guess the way that the motions were, it looked as if Jimin went behind him and then took him out, and they started fist fighting. Crazy to actually have them talk about that, especially Jimin, because he's such a peaceful dude. So, but those peaceful guys, the guys that are quiet, the ones who try to be the peacemakers and don't go and make fun of other people and stuff, eventually, if you upset those kind of people, they're going to go nuts on you. And when they do, you're not going to be able to control them. You're not going to be able to stop them because they've hit that point. Hence the reason, all this shaking starts to happen, because you're literally about to blow up. You're about to wreck whatever's in front of you. I know all of those guys, from my understanding, are martial arts. So that'd be something. But Jimin especially after reading or after seeing the guide, which we're going to be releasing on Sunday, I wouldn't want to mess with Jimin. I believe he was a black belt in Taekwondo or Judo or something like that, but some form of martial arts. But whatever happened, and it just looked like that there have been a lot of arguments between Jimin and V, and that kind of trickles understandably, but unfortunately it trickles into the fandom, because then you have a lot of people that start taking sides, and that's sad. That's really sad, and it shouldn't be that way. Jimin did absolutely say it's taken a long time for me to be this close to him, but I'm glad that we finally got to that point. But it just shows that behind the scenes, I'm sure there were some insults being hurtled their ways. Yes, we see that they're tight. That's what the media and the record labels want you to see, is that. So does that mean you guys should hate V because of that? No, man, those guys got over it. They're best friends. All right. I will see you guys soon. If you haven't yet, please like, subscribe to my channel, and put that notification bell on so you know the next time I drop one of these videos. Peace.